piece of candy.
Okay.
Okay, we are live.
We're live.
Okay.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Aurora Board Meeting, Monday, February 22nd, 2021. We're going to start this. Everyone.
Whoops.
We good? Okay. We're going to start this meeting by standing for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's good to be back in the building here. It's good to have people out there to look at. No public hearings tonight, so we're going to go right into the approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve the January 29, 2021 special meeting minutes and work session and the February 8th, 2021 meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jolene,
I'll second.
a second by Chuck. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. By the way, our town attorney is excused tonight, so he will not be here. Number 4, audience, and this is an opportunity for anyone out in the audience to address the board on any items that are on the agenda, or anybody that is online or on the phone. Anybody out in the audience that would like to talk to the board on any of the items that are on the agenda? Luke,
Anyone
anybody?
online wants to use the raise hand feature right now? There's no call-ins. Think you're all set, Jim.
Nobody?
Nope.
All right, so we'll go to 5, which is unfinished business. Does everyone have a agenda out there? Martha, did we get agendas?
Sorry.
All right,
Forgot to lock the door and everything.
all right, sorry about that. We're still getting our feet wet again here, being back in the building. So A is the Davis Road rezoning application. And this was sent to the planning board to have them look at it. And the following actions were taken at the February 10th, 2021 meeting of the Planning and Conservative Board. Jerry Thompson moved to recommend that the town board do not approve the rezoning requests at Davis Road SBL 199.01-2-25 because it would be considered spot zoning. And the lot size is inadequate for the requested rezone. This was seconded by Doug Crow, and it was unanimous in its motion. Does the board want to discuss this at all, or do we want to make a motion to accept or deny this action?
I think that was our expectation when we sent it. We just thought maybe they'd see it a little differently, but obviously they did not. So I don't have any problem just doing the vote and denying it.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Do I have a motion either way?
I'll make a motion to deny the property at the Davis Road address that Jim said.
Do I have a second? Motion by Chuck Snyder,
Second.
second by Luke. Any discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have B, which is the Aurora Municipal Center contractor payments. This is from Martha Leibrock, our town clerk. And she wants us to approve the following payments. that were approved by our architects. Payment number 19, which is the final, to Industrial Power and Lights Corp. Through February 28th, 2021, for the electrical contract of $43,265.38. And payment number 19, which is the final, to Greater Niagara Mechanical, Inc., through February 4th, 2021, for the mechanical contract of $28,011.85. Do I have a motion to approve payments?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Sue Freeze. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jolene. Is there any discussion? Besides, it's great, it's the final payment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have new business. And I would like to add one item, which would be D, and this is the Assistant Code Enforcement Officer's pay. The salary that we need to establish. So do I have a motion to add D, the Assistant Code Enforcement Officer pay?
So moved.
A motion by Luke. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Next, this is from the Erie County. And it's to advise that the term for Don Owens for the Erie County Environmental Management Council will expire May 31st, 2021. If we want to redesignate Don for an additional 2 years, we have to vote on it tonight. Don, after talking to him, would thoroughly enjoy continuing. So I would make a motion to nominate and appoint Don Owens to that 2-year term.
Second.
And second by Luke. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guys are easy tonight.
Would you
Not
like us
done
to
yet,
choose
right?
it?
All right. Actually, the next B is 4 items that really relate to the highway department. And we have a list of things here, but I didn't know if Dave, if you wanted to talk.
I'll explain it really quick.
Okay.
For the past several years.
Hold on a second. Gonna get you a microphone.
He's gonna get you a mic.
Maybe for the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Hope it's got a good battery.
So since 2013, we've been applying for recycling equipment grants, and we've been successful with them. We just received our second one this year, and we need to authorize the supervisor to sign to accept the payment of $138,000 and some change. We usually pre-apply for the next one. So the paperwork that I sent in showed how we had pre-applied for buying a new high lift back in 2019. So what I've sent to the board is a price from Milton Cat for a brand new 2020 model. And the reason to get it on now is it's a leftover and it saves us about $3,500 and they're still identical. So if I can get it approved contingent on the funds coming from the state, Caterpillar will put the sold tag on it and wait for us to get paid. And they do understand the contingency. We've done this before. Caterpillar has offered us $35,000 on the trade of our existing 2008 case high lift. After doing some research, I can't say for sure, but I got a feeling that we may get as much as $50,000 to $60,000 for it. So I felt that if we could approve it to go to auction with the minimum bid of $35,000, we wouldn't have anything to lose. And if I was wrong, we would just accept Caterpillar's bid. I think that's everything on that. Did I cover all that pretty good?
Yeah, so the
Okay.
difference between the grant and what we'd actually be spending is minimal.
Yes, if I'm right, we actually will have more than enough money.
Right.
So if I'm wrong, I think we're like 5,000 short, which I know we can come up with within our
In the-
regular highway budget.
Right.
And then the good news is we're already pre-approved for this one to give us another 100 grand back, hopefully a couple years from now. So it's a really good program as long as I can keep it rolling. So
Is there any questions for Dave?
No.
No.
Martha, my question would be, do I have to do each one of these as a separate motion? Or can I combine, just read them and combine them? I am sorry, I didn't hear you.
You can combine.
I combine them, okay. Okay,
Was that
I'm just trying to make my
Chuck?
life
That was-
easier.
I said
Okay, so we have 4 items that we have to vote on, and I'll just read them off, and then we'll just do one motion to include them all, if that's okay with the board, unless you want to do them separately. Okay. So number 1 is request to surplus our current 2008 wheel loader. Number 2 is the request to auction or trade our 2008 case wheel loader and accept whichever is higher. So first we have to surplus it, then we're either going to trade it in or we're going to auction it, whatever we get better. 3 is to authorize the supervisor to sign the grant reimbursement contract. And 4 is a request to purchase the 2020 caliper wheel loader contingent upon receiving those grant funds, which were approved, but
yes,
they're
but
contingent.
it's just allows them to put a sold tag. They understand we probably won't take delivery till about May because the email that got sent to Jim said our funds should be in here between April and May. So it's just to kind of put a hold tag on it.
Timing.
So if everyone understands, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jolene. Do I
I'll
have a second?
second.
Second by Sue. Is there any discussion? I only say that Dave is on top of keeping our equipment updated,
Thanks.
which keeps the repairs cheaper, and we're in that mode of alternating our equipment and not waiting to the last minute, all of a sudden having to spend a lot of money for equipment that and putting us in the hole. So
It's a good team
I applaud
effort
the
though.
way you're doing that, Dave. It's a good idea.
Jolene started with this with me years ago, so it's been a good team effort
Yep.
and we've come a long way. So
Okay.
thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. We might want to keep that out there. I think our next item is this a request for property development discussion with Greg Snyder. Greg is here. This is kind of a discussion on a piece of property, I believe that we've looked at before, and you've had a couple different ideas. So at this point, Greg, this almost turns into a work session. We just want to hear what you're up to and discuss it a little bit. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we're up here and you're down there, but we can work through this.
we can hear you.
Yes, well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do I need the microphone?
Yes, unfortunately.
Well, in 2010, I had an ODA approved for my 686 Quaker Road lot. And recently, that ODA had 4 parcels shown in total. And then in 2 years ago, 2019, I separated 1 lot, and the town basically accepted that separation because I'm paying taxes on it now. So I then submitted my plan under my ODA that required that I show storm drainage, driveway, site improvements, and have that reviewed by the building inspector before going forward with any site clearing or storm drainage. And so I did that. And then I basically received, you know, a month later, a notification from the town that I guess questions the buildability of that lot. So I'm trying to find out, you know, why that is and what, you know, what I need to do to move forward with that project.
What year did you say you split it?
2019.
Do you have a little larger site plan, Greg, of what you want to do with it, or you just have? I mean, I guess I don't, what do you propose to do on that?
Well, the site plan hasn't changed from my original ODA. My ODA had 4 lots, including this like easternmost lot. So each lot was basically approved for residents. And that's what I'm proposing on this lot, you know, a two-family residence.
But didn't you come back and change it to a campground?
Or was that
Yes.
before?
No, well, my campground proposal, you know, fell flat, obviously. And, you know, obviously we worked through that for a while and there was not a great enthusiastic response from my neighbors on it. So essentially I had to withdraw that proposal. But even when we were going through that process, you know, and obviously we had a few different meetings with planning and so forth. But when we kind of got to the tipping point, basically, you know, I was told that I'd have to rescind my ODA in order to have any chance of moving forward with that development, which I declined to do. So to me, that's almost a moot point. I proposed an optional development on a portion of my site, an option to the ODA, but that option was never approved and was, you know,
Well, I'm
rescinded.
not too sure you can apply for 2 different things at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm no longer, I mean, the whole kind of campground concept is
Right, but you applied for the 4 houses, was it 4 houses?
4
lots.
lots
4 lots. You applied for that first.
that I applied for in
And you applied for the
2010.
campground, which, if I'm not mistaken, did it go over a year or something, Martha, where that rescinded that first, where you,
I think Greg never, because he saw the resistance from the neighbors and so on and so forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but I think you pretty much just, you know, let that one fall by the wayside with the campground. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, that project to me is done. I mean, it was obvious at the final meeting that was not going to be approved. And like I say, we talked about a number of issues. I mean, I went through the process of water and sanitary design and everything else. We never really did discuss how that would have affected my ODA, which again, I got in 2010. In my view, it was going to take up one of the lots of the ODA. And I think it was, you know, that at that meeting, basically it was said, well, no, if you wanted to go forward with this, I think Jolene even said, if I remember, that would be a much bigger ask. That's like the phrase I recall. And I remember that specifically because that was like kind of the day that concept died.
so to be clear, you're scrapping the campground, going back to the 4 lot.
Yes.
Okay.
However, the actual split, no action, nothing has taken place since 2010. This until 2019, when the
Right.
split was put forth on the record.
So the issue though for us is that in between 2010 and 2019, the ODA was changed.
Right, but there's to me, there's a couple issues there. A, the ODA that I received didn't have like a time limit on it. Didn't say that, well, if you don't split these lots or if you don't sell them within 5 years, the ODA is void.
But the ODA was approved under the code at the time would have been allowable under the code at the time,
Yes.
but then 9 years, you didn't do anything for 9 years, right?
Well, right.
So,
But if I look at the
Sounds out
ODA, like if to me, if the ODA were, the zoning is going to change in your development plan and you're basically, I look at this as my, part of my retirement investment is going to get cut in half. Because basically I did look at the new ODA requirements and they basically make my division void.
I think, could we get Bill or Liz's input on this?
Bless you.
Liz?
I think really Ron was determined that because there had been no split made, that he should go through the process. Liz and I-
But he would have to follow
we
the
looked-
code now.
Yeah,
What after everybody has on page 2
mm-hmm,
from the Association of Towns,
mm-hmm.
after
Did-
Ron saw that and after talking with them, the ODA still stands, but all the variances that you would need would have to be met. Because they don't, what he has doesn't fit the current requirements.
Right. Which I'm trying to think of, I think we've had other situations and I think the code is even written, or the resolution even, well, I need to go back and look, that it has to, any further development would have to comply with the codes that is in place when the action takes place.
Unfortunately, tonight, our town attorney had taken a fall on the ice and couldn't be here, so I don't know how to respond to this without talking to him. But would this mean he'd have to reapply for?
You know what, I think I think I have to consult with him before
Yeah,
I would
okay.
make an
So at
educated
least we
guess.
know- So you basically want to do the same thing.
Right. The proposal I have for that lot, which I numbered 682,
Yep.
is the same. Is basically, those are the lot dimensions and the setbacks that were on my approved ODA plan for that,
Yep.
for that specific lot.
So can you take me through as the one probably who wasn't here when this all happened in the beginning? The first application, I heard you correctly, was in 2009, the ODA?
I probably applied in 2009. It was
Yeah.
approved in March of 2010.
Okay.
But then you changed. Then you changed your mind on it, right?
Well,
And-
I was looking at doing something other than that. Yeah, I proposed basically, instead of building on that lot, doing that like little mini campsite that was like on the same corner of the property.
That's what I remember.
But obviously, like to me, that's almost like a non-issue at this point because
Well,
that didn't get
I don't know
approved.
if it's a non-issue when when you start changing what you want to do, it changes. I think before I say something that I don't know what I'm saying without talking to the town attorney, I think we really need to
Yep.
discuss this with him. We wanted to bring in you just to see what you were thinking of and what you wanted to do. I was hoping he was going to be here tonight. Unfortunately, he had an unfortunate situation happen. So I think what we need to do is I'll contact him.
Yep.
I'll go over this with him and, decide what we're going to do before our next meeting to let you know. And we'll let Liz know whatever kind of correspondence that you need. Now, have you talked to Liz at all from the building department on this, what you want to do now again?
Well, yeah, I submitted like this plan, the one that's on the drawing that was up there, A1 to Bill Kramer in December. And then he, I think, reviewed it with Martha and perhaps like the attorney. And then I basically got back an email, but regarding when, the new ODA came into place. But like like I'm looking at, like this lot that basically is now split with Erie County, and the town accepted the split, and now it's a non-buildable lot. I mean, if you look at what the new ODA is, and even, if I try to develop it as a single lot, obviously, the 50-foot flag lot is not, not permissible anymore. So like, why did the town approve the split about, and I'm paying taxes, school taxes on that lot and can't build on it?
Because
Well-
at the time you could.
The county approves the
The
split.
county approves the splits,
We
right?
don't approve the split.
Anybody can split their land any way they want, but they just may not be able to build on it. If they don't split correctly.
Well, I think we have everything again. I mean, I was looking at the resolution and this is what I was referring to. Be it resolved that the approval with modification by the town board is expressly for the 686 Quaker, and any future development will be subject to the standards and requirements of the code without modification. To me, that, if I'm reading that correctly, that states that when you go to build, it's subject to the town code as it is written, but that's what I need Ron to
Yeah.
confirm. So
And where is that written?
in the resolution in adopting in approving the ODA originally in March of 2010, March. Yeah. So I think it's no sense in, we have everything we need. We'll
I think we need.
confer with Ron and
We need to
then
confer with the attorney and we'll get back.
follow up with a,
Well, can I get a copy of that resolution?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Martha, can you get that?
I'll email it to you.
So we'll confer with him.
Mhm.
Hopefully he'll get back out of, he's in the intensive, or I don't know where he's at,
That's very big.
no.
not intensive care, but what do you call those emergency care things? He fell,
Urgent care.
urgent care. And unfortunate, but it is icy and stuff, so hopefully he'll be okay. And we can confer with him this week or next week, and we can get back to you with some kind of an answer where you want to go.
All right, well, I thank you for that.
Okay, Greg?
Yep.
And Martha will get you that resolution,
All right.
okay? You can leave that mic right on the table in case we need it. So,
Thanks, Greg.
thank you very much. All right, next, this is the item that I added, D, and this is, we need approval to set the assistant code enforcement officer's pay. There's a recommendation here of $20.60 an hour, which equates to $43,000.13. The range for Erie County Civil Service purposes was $38,000 to $43,000. Councilman Snyder, myself, the building department, Liz and Bill, and we have, and Kathleen have interviewed a few people for the position. And I think we're getting close to picking one. So we need to get this in place. So I would need a motion to accept, unless someone wants to change that number, the $43,000.
Can we stipulate,
A range,
Well, there's a range.
Well-
We can put anything we want in there. This is the recommended.
depending on who you select. I mean, you may take somebody
Yeah,
that's
that's what I-
highly qualified. You say, I'm gonna take somebody that's less qualified, but they're trainable and they fit in.
well, we, out of the people that we interviewed, we ended up with one that was, we felt anyway, was better than Rex. Better fit, better, everything all the way around. And in my mind anyway, this wage and hourly rate was specific to that person. You agree, Jim?
I do,
Okay.
I do.
And I mean, that person, just so you know, he's been in the Navy for 23 years. But either considering that, he was born and raised here in the town of East Aurora. He's got ties here, he's got family here. He's detail oriented. He's reached a rank of up there a ways, as you can imagine, after 23 years. I think he's got some CAD experience. He's got some, reading plans experience, I think, and actually everyone, Bill, Liz,
It was
Jim,
unanimous.
all felt that he was the best fit of all of the candidates.
Now, he would have to take the test. And that is kind of funny because time-wise, it could be whenever it's offered, right? So it could go on for years before it's offered.
The civil service.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to pass the building, state building.
He has to pass that, but the civil services could go on for how long?
18 months for the state building.
But what about the civil service?
Well, you gotta call for a test.
But that's not always offered.
If nobody calls for a test, it's went for years before. Liz
Yeah.
said, I think
So he's obligated to do both. To be able to be appointed, he has to do both.
This is a provisional position, right?
But it would be
Until,
a provisional position.
until the
And-
test
and
is
again,
offered.
We haven't officially picked it, so I mean, I don't want to say more than that about it, but we do have to.
So are we
and
changing
what
just the,
Councilman Snyder say is, he is very qualified to learn the position. Maybe he doesn't know the position, but he's very qualified to learn that position. Would
Yeah,
you say?
absolutely.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
so are we approving here like a different range that for the position, or is it the
There's a
specific
range
salary?
there. We can put.
I think we should approve the range
The
at this
range.
point in time is probably appropriate, because I think usually you would approve the actual salary.
A number.
Yeah,
Okay.
when we ask this person if he wants to take the job, he's gonna say, what's my salary?
So we need a number. We can't just say, well, it's between this. We need a number now.
But-
And here's the range of the number. So we have to pick a number. So you can pick between 38 and 43,000.
Well, okay.
So
Right?
that's why,
Is that right, Joe, or you got something?
I think, do we have to approve the range first and then the specific?
We don't
salary?
really have to. All you have to do is establish the salary. Trying to think of how I've done it in the past. An individual is made an offer. It's always contingent upon the board approval and that kind of thing, but it doesn't really matter.
well, we're
I guess.
within 38,
Yeah.
43,000.
No,
So
well-
Within $5,000. The,
No, I'm fine with it. And then the board
The,
would
the,
a yay or a nay when the candidate is presented. That's all.
so, I mean, do we want to go with the 43,000 or do we want to pick something between 38 and 43,000? That's the question right now.
No, I think so. Well, I thought the issue was that it's 43,013, so it's $13 over the range, right? Is that the?
Well, that's what we were asking, yes.
That's what was suggested.
Yes.
Those ranges are just
Someone
suggested.
to do this job, I mean, any job like that, it's not a lot of money to
Yeah,
do
I
that
would go with
job.
your recommendation.
Yeah.
If you feel that he's
Yeah, that's fine.
good qualified, I don't have any problem with it.
I can say it's not like they were busting down the walls for applications.
No, I know.
And we only had 3, I believe. I think we had 3 applicants and I think 1 didn't show up.
Right.
No, I believe it. No, that's fine.
do we,
That-
if we approve this, does then the salary have to be that, even if, so let's say this candidate declines? If this
Oh, if he
candidate then
declined it?
declines, would this be the salary that's set for whoever it is, or,
I mean, can we go
Well-
higher? So is that what you're saying?
or, yeah, either way, yeah, or,
I don't
I
know.
mean, we were gonna offer this gentleman the job. He's gonna wanna know what we're gonna pay him.
Yeah.
And so we were gonna say it's gonna be X is what we're offering. If you wanna change that,
no, I don't know if, I'm just asking if this is to set it in stone for whomever, or
No.
something we can change around.
This is, well,
We will have to actually approve the hiring of this person
Right.
at X salary. So for this, that's fine.
Look, these two are up to something over there. That's what they look like.
They're not.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What was your first clue? All right, well, I need a motion somehow where you guys want to be. I'll leave it at that.
I can make a motion to set the salary at 43,013.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sue, motion by Luke. Is there any discussion? Guess we already had our discussion. But is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you.
Feel like we made that overly difficult for what that was, yeah.
I wouldn't expect anything less. Okay, communications and reports. We have the January 2021 reports for town clerk and tax. Building department, work requisitions. And we have a TE9 New York State DOT approval of a TE9 speed limit reduction for Sweet Road between Mill and Grover.
Our first one ever that got approved in
And what,
11 and a half
do
years.
you have the difference in the speed, Martha, on that?
10 miles an hour.
You went to
So it went from
35.
what?
45 to
45 to
35.
35.
45 to 35. And that is the first one since I've been here. I
It
don't know
is.
about,
Mhm.
you know. So, wow. Beach Road?
Beach?
Yeah,
And actually, didn't we lower part of Darling? I think part of Darling too.
Well, that's good.
it's the first TE9 in a long time.
That doesn't mean anyone's gonna go in.
Not, no, not yet. Yeah, we have to get notification from the state first.
So Shane, here's your opportunity to write some tickets.
Maybe put that machine out so people know it's changing.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay.
All right, next we have 8 on the agenda, and this is business from the board members. And I'm gonna start with Sue tonight.
Chuck and I met with the Rock representatives this morning, Frank Cerny, Tim Lafferty, Monique Brannon, and Camille, somebody.
Yeah.
Anyway, good meeting. Our intent was to get a solid listing of the programming that was offering, the number of attendees that attend these programs, frequency, you know, how often do they meet? Are they indoors, outdoors, et cetera? So as we move forward to work on a special use permit or deed restrictions, all that will come into play, no matter what zone we put them in, decide to put them in. So they're gonna fill in the blanks. I filled out a spreadsheet and then they're gonna fill in the blanks that I missed. And then we'll share it with the board, right? And go from there. See if anybody here has additional questions on their programming. We did learn a couple of things, which is that they're gonna be moving to having like satellite rocks, which will keep our place from growing too big, which was always a concern, right? Like they're just a model and then, you know, they'll get out and do more of these, but elsewhere. And what was the second thing we learned? There was 2 things. That one, oh, and that their model for training or for assisting people really focuses on smaller groups, you know, like if there's a lot of 1 to 3, one-on-one. A couple of the programs do, you know, you'll have a teen night that has 15 people, you know, but they are smaller groups of people. And I think that's a good thing from fitting into the neighborhood there as well. And the majority of their programs are done between, what do they say, 8 a.m. and 7:30-ish. Most of them between 8 and 5, but some of those teen things are 5 to 7:30 where kids come before school or maybe a after work kind of counseling thing. So it felt good to get a better feel for what their numbers were going to look like and you know what their growth opportunity was.
Yeah, it was a great meeting.
Right.
I mean, it was,
There is
Close to
another
12.
plan though, because handed us another plan this morning that they're gonna, Chuck asked for the large copies, because, we're looking at, you need a magnifying glass to see it.
Plan for.
For how
Site
their
plan.
building is going.
Oh.
The site plan looks
So they
different
changed-
again,
They changed it again.
So,
Well, I mean,
he's asked for the big plans to do that. We can still move forward with our restrictions. That's gonna have to go to site plan review and everything
Right,
else
right,
anyway.
right.
But we'll need to take a look at it before we do
okay.
any.
And we're still struggling with where to put it.
Right, regardless, though, we can do our restrictions because
Right.
they're.
It doesn't
gonna be in
matter.
place No matter where they are.
Right.
Right.
Hey, anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Did I forget anything?
No, I mean, it was a very informative meeting, and it was good to get a lot of those things straightened out and actually get it right on paper. Sue, as she says, I was shocked when we walked in, and Sue had a spreadsheet. But she gave it to Monique and said, fill in what's missing, which will be great because it'll be coming right from them. So the uses will be specified right by them. And if there's an issue, you know what, you wrote it down. So, yeah.
Deputy Supervisor, you have,
I want to thank Martha for everything she's doing still with this building because, these little odds and ends and final payments, that's the easy part. But Ben's been around patching some drywall and, IPL's been fixing a light and this and that and the other thing. Lots of times, Bill can attest to this, lots of times, all those little odds and ends at the end are more of a pain in the neck to try to remember that, oh gee, did they put that doorstop on in that door over there? And Martha's just taken control of all of it and done an awesome job. So thank you. And, I guess you call it attended a webinar or took a webinar course, whatever. A week ago today, last Monday, I'm sorry. And believe it or not, it was on land use case law.
what do you
And
need
it was
that for?
pretty interesting. They got into more specific cases, but there was a few things when you ask questions that you got some general answers, but it was interesting.
Was that from the Association of Towns?
Yes, that was
Okay.
that one through the Association of Towns, yes.
Is there anything that's pertinent to the rock conversation, you think? Or?
Well, he touched on special use permits and the differences between a variance and a special use permit. And he did mention that there's certain criteria that a special use has to meet, just as a certain criteria that a variance has to meet. And the one thing he did say, he said, the one thing off the top of my head that I can think of is a special use permit. You don't have to prove that hardship. But I mean, he spent about 1 minute on it, Luke. So he didn't get into it too deep.
It's good to know that in that 1 minute, we didn't mess anything up, so.
And I think that's it, Jim.
You have, sorry. Joe?
Nothing, thank you.
Well, you don't have anything, right?
I have two things, actually. It's shout out to Tony Rosati. I feel like Tony Rosati tonight, right? Two things. The first thing that we should discuss, and both of these are very preliminary, just to get everybody on the same page. The first issue is in relation to our ambulance services throughout the town. So there have been some developments to play this back. As you know, Rural Metro was providing ambulance services. They were taken over by AMR, and the village is responsible for the contract with AMR through the East Aurora Fire District, part of which is in the town. That contract is up, and there are sort of older payments hanging in the wind here with that older contract. And so negotiations started about a year ago with AMR over renewing the contract. AMR is under a lot of pressure. I understand that because of the current healthcare crisis, but also pressure because of, well, I guess this is the same, wait times at the hospitals, less volunteers able to do some of the work that they now have to do because of those wait times, and all just builds on each other. So about a half a year ago, we had come to a point where there was a four-party agreement, Elma, Marilla, Aurora, and the South Wales District, which is half in the town of Aurora. to provide services throughout with one full-time ambulance in the East Aurora, based out of East Aurora, the fire hall, and one 12 hours a day stationed out of Elma that would service this area, keeping our level the same and the response times the same, but with an expanded area that would allow them to also recover some of the fees from insurance a little bit better. Since then, Elma and Marilla were broken off of that contract. They signed a separate contract. The lease was never signed with the Elma Town Hall. Maybe that'll happen in the future, but it hasn't as of yet. There's staffing problems at AMR. And so there are a few cases around town when the response time has been very difficult. We found out about a week ago that South Wales is not under consideration at this time to be a part of that contract, which is a very serious change to what was happening. I was told today in an email that maybe in the future that could be added on, but at this point, that's not being considered. So the village is
From
handling.
AMR's perspective.
From AMR's perspective. So the village is handling the negotiations with AMR for what's happening here. But we had a meeting with Shane and Roger, and want to make sure that down the road that we're doing the best we can do with ambulance services for everyone in the town. And although we don't have a direct contract ourselves, as we are a little bit larger than the village, it can bring in more parties. Because of the state law, we could as a town take other actions that the village may not be able to do. We think it's necessary to continue looking into the various options for ambulance services, both in that East Aurora Fire District, but also with an expanded look. And there are a lot of options. I had a lot of conversation with the state EMS, with some people who had set up Orchard Park, which has its own ambulance service, with some competitors to AMR, with AMR. And I feel better after having those conversations that if we start looking into this issue now, that we are going to be able to be in a better position when it next comes up to make the right decision. So it will not be easy.
How long is the agreement?
It's for 3 years. So a 3-year agreement, but there is a termination clause in there for both parties.
I like the idea that we're creating competition.
We need to create competition. We need to think outside the box here. Think of all of the fire districts in town. West Falls so far has been happy with their volunteer services. But if you look at the trends in the other fire districts around here, it may only
It's
be a
only a
matter of time.
time.
Elma and Marilla are certainly potential partners. I mean, we don't know. We don't have the data yet. But I think we owe it to the residents to take a little bit more deep look into this. And that's sort of a long-term project that I think we're going to have to tackle. So if there's any questions about that, that's the first. I think that the village did not approve the contract when it came up last time. I think that they will probably this time because nothing has happened since then. The contract negotiations have not moved any bit. So I think that contract will be signed, which is good. It'll get the village set and handled for the foreseeable future. As a short-term thing, we are working with South Wales to try to find some alternatives, and I don't know what those would be. And then long-term, we do need to think about what we can be doing. And there are options. So
To be clear that the village is in control of Fire District 1, it's not the town.
correct.
So they control what happens there. Hopefully we have some say in it, but we really contractually don't.
And I thank the village. I can talk every once in a while, and I thank the village for keeping me on the negotiations throughout. I think we're better off than we were a year ago. It's been a long process, but I don't see much more movement from AMR at this point, and the village meeting is next Monday, and there are no planned meetings between now and then. So I think with AMR, what we have is probably going to be the situation, including for our budget purposes, the fee that we had spoken about before, which was the 32 for both the village and the town. So we would be taking our portion of that. But the conversation needs to happen, and it's unfortunate that the volunteers, it's not the same as it used to be. It's not going to come back. Hopefully, when the health crisis is over, it'll get a little bit easier, but There are various combinations with flag cars and all sorts of things that you could look into. So if anyone wants to join us on that adventure, you're more than welcome to, but it will be a long road. So
And why did Elma Marilla break off?
I don't know. Now they're in a little different situation as well, because unlike in East Aurora, they do have their own ambulances.
Mm.
So if there is a late response time in Elma or Marilla, they could send someone to do the first aid while they're waiting for AMR to come back from somewhere else. So that situation is a little different than in East Aurora, where we depend, or I guess Fire District number 1, where we depend fully on AMR for those services. So,
Okay, thanks, Lou.
Yeah.
Thanks.
second issue is
Time's up, remember?
yeah, time's up. As we know, in our zoning, we have the B1 and the B2 zones. And we've gone over some issues here over the past couple of meetings. And, Jim and I were talking and maybe feel that it would be a good time to start thinking about perhaps a moratorium until we can further look into the B districts in order to understand how we want to move forward with them. As we know, there are B2, which is up to 55,000 square feet, right? Buildings in West Falls, for example. And it may be a good idea to rethink of what those B2 classifications are, maybe think of a B3 zone. And during that time, a moratorium may give us the time to be able to do that so that we're not making any hasty decisions until then. I mean, this is after the rock, but something that I'd like for us to consider so that we could get our ducks in a row on the business districts, because it seems to be developing rapidly all around us. And it's going to be coming to us sooner or later.
Martha, I have a question on that. If we wanted to move forward with a moratorium to take a look at the code again, what would we have to do? Would it just be a motion? Do we have to do local law?
Local
Local
law,
law?
yeah.
So Ron would have to draft a local law, okay.
And we have done that.
Well, I think, and we've been talking and we bring up some good points. Rock really brought up some really good issues for us to look at, because codes change. Things don't stay the same. We really need to look at code blue. If there's an area that it should go better in. We do need we were kind of kidding around, a B1A or a
In between.
B3, but I think it's time to look at another zone for business that fits some needs that maybe when we did the code weren't there. And it's something that we always said we have to revisit from occasion. It doesn't stay the same for 50 years. It shouldn't. So I think it would be smart for us to do something that put a moratorium on. Let's take a look at it, whether it's in usually 6 months. Is that a good time frame, or I'm not?
I think we usually set them for 6 months, but you always end up needing a year, the reality of it.
Well, you can mean it.
But-
And we've been, listen, we all were in that committee of 5 years of looking at the codes and stuff. And you think you've thought of everything, and all of a sudden something else comes up. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's something that we should talk around about, drafting a resolution in a local law. And I think then we could start setting up either a committee or however we're going to do it, and get some input even from whoever we want to put on that committee.
Right.
But I agree, and I think everyone else probably agrees that we really need to do something.
And I know I said this last meeting, so I'm repeating myself, but I am also working on the special event law, and I have made more progress,
where
but not enough to,
I'm waiting.
I know. I wake up in my morning and check my emails and hope that Jolene has not emailed me asking where the special event law is, but I'll get it soon.
You good, Lou? All right, and I'm kind of good because I was going to talk about the same thing that Luke and I were talking about. So next we'll go to 9, which is audience, and this is an opportunity for the audience or anybody online to address the board on any items whatsoever. So is there anybody out there that would like to talk to the board on any item? Please stand and give us your name and address. Sorry,
I don't know if I'm audience or staff still.
Bill, can you grab the microphone so you're in the Zoom and YouTube?
are you an official citizen or are you still staff for 4 days?
I don't know that.
Can you just push the button up? Yep, push that up and the light should come on.
There it is. I just wanted to take the opportunity, having this open meeting, how unusual, to thank the board for all the help and support for the last 16 years. It's been a pleasure working for the town. Part of what makes a job a great job is working for good people and working with good people. And I've been fortunate in both areas. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thank you, Bill.
You know, your job isn't
Our
always the
pleasure.
easiest, and sometimes you have to do things that aren't the most popular, and you always handle that well.
Certainly going to be missed.
Good
You're
night,
just,
Bill.
you're just padding your overtime. That's why you're here tonight, right? Anybody else would like to speak at all? And I'll go back to Luke here. Is there anybody online then?
We
who'd like
do
to
have
speak?
one, and I'll give you 10 cents if you guess who it is. Trustee Rosati, you are on the line, and
Hi there. I just wanted to remind people that with all the snow we got over the weekend, many of the fire hydrants got buried, especially the ones that are closer to the edge of the pavement. So if you're out and about, take a look. You might see a stake instead of the hydrant, but please remember to look around and dig out any fire hydrants that are near your house because some of them are getting very buried. That's it.
Thanks, Tony. Anybody else?
anybody else? You want to raise your hand or use the chat function? No, we don't have many on today, so we're good.
That's it. I knew Tony wouldn't let us down.
No,
And hey, I liked how that worked. That worked pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay, if Tony's still on, is there anything on staff reports?
I think I
He's
muted
still
him.
on or is he off?
He's on. There
No?
you go. Tony, you're on.
One thing that did come up during our last meeting, we noticed as a group that we get a fair number of requests for 10-foot garage doors rather than 9-foot garage doors, which is what's in the code right now. So if you're going to be looking at zoning in general, that might be another thing to look at as well, because there doesn't seem to be as much of an impact having a approval in the code for a 10-foot door instead of a 9-foot door for garages.
Okay. Right, well, this is the time to do it, right?
It sounds like God is talking.
It could be, you don't know.
Jim, Joe Wetzel is also on, if you want to go with him too.
Okay, we'll go right to Joe from
Oops.
GHD. Come on down.
Joe, you're.
Yep. Nothing to report right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Nope. Oh, okay. So then we'll continue with our staff reports and I'll start with Dave Gunner. You gotta do the mic with the God thing.
You'll sound like God to everybody else in the world watching, so.
I just want to let you know that I met with Senator Galvin's office about our Senate 1.2 bridge grant. It's like a road lift in Church Street Bridge. We should know in the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
So once we get that, we'll get going on that. And then also, I'm working with our bridge engineers, Floyd Albert. We're going to be applying for a Bridge New York grant for the East Fillmore Bridge. And it looks really good for that too. So
Question, Dave, on the bridge grant.
I forwarded you an email.
Right.
Is that the one we're talking about?
That's exactly right. That was really good.
Okay,
They're in place. It's just a matter of now. Kind of loose ends.
okay.
As long as Governor Cuomo clauses all the grant system, which are exempt costs for COVID, looks like we should be funding for that pretty soon.
Okay.
The Bridge New York grant, we wouldn't get awarded that till fall, so that should work out perfect if we do get it. Civil War next year.
Perfect.
Wow.
Hey,
Thank
Dave,
you.
thanks to you
You can
and
just hand it right
everybody
to-
there.
Hand it right to Liz.
Thanks to you, Dave, and everybody there. I know you've been working hard over the last couple of
Yeah, no,
days
we're
here
doing a
and
real good job this weekend that would kind of caught us by surprise.
Yeah.
I heard one complaint and I said, what color is it? And it was not red, so we're good. Yeah, it was yellow.
Boston got 46 inches.
Yeah.
Amazing. Liz,
I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
Bill? You want to thank us again? Chief?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? No?
You're stuck with it now. All right, so 11 is approval of the abstracts. Do I have a motion to approve the abstracts?
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Sue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, and that's carried. And adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jolene. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sue. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Feels good to be back in the building.
It does, right?